Happy Wednesday, and welcome to this Brainscratch update. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for joining me here today. In July of 2020, we covered the case of Susan Morrissey Ledyard on Brainscratch, a baffling mystery that would take months to even be classified as a homicide, and there are some recent developments that may shine investigators' lights back on one particular person of interest. Susan was a 50-year-old high school English teacher, someone who loved to read. On the morning of July 23rd, her body would be found in the Brandywine River in Delaware. Not long after, her vehicle would be found on a nearby bridge, 3 miles up the river from where her body was found. What initially seemed like an accidental death, or possibly even Susan ending her own life, would in November of that same year turn into a homicide investigation. Investigators would focus on a 4-hour time frame, from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m., trying to figure out what may have happened during it. They knew she was active on her cell phone right up until about 3 a.m. They state they know that she was active in the time frame after that, but initially weren't clear on what she was doing or how they knew that she was active. There were challenges identifying Susan's cause of death when she was found, but it was clear from the injuries to her body that they didn't come from a fall into the river. Investigators also noted that there was no way her body could have entered the river from the bridge where her car was found. There were so many obstructions in the river, including several rocky areas that basically act as dams. Her body couldn't have traveled the 3 miles. Eventually, some details from her autopsy report would be released publicly. Cause of death, blunt force trauma, and drowning. In the description box below, you'll find a link to watch our original coverage on this case. But when I watched it back, prepping for today's discussion, one moment really stuck out to me. Let's take a look at it together.
Susan was the love of my life, my best friend, my beloved wife. She's so missed. I am so heartbroken. And I would simply reiterate what John asked and what the detectives asked. Just any information, regardless how minimal you may think it is, please pass it on. Our family is so heartbroken, and not having closure about how she passed away, it's been really difficult. So I would just ask your help.
So I think I've been very clear on previous videos. I do my absolute best to not try to be a human lie detector, but I have no doubt several of you out there watched that clip and are saying, crocodile tears, there's no way that was real. Comments from Ben Ledyard, Susan's husband of 3 years, say that he went to a movie that night and that he was in bed by 11 p.m. while Susan stayed up. He also said that he was afraid that she was leaving in the middle of the night to meet someone that she may have been having an affair with. But considering where her car was found and that there is some surveillance video from that area, I don't feel strongly that this was a rendezvous spot or that she left from there in another vehicle. The question of the 3 to 7 a.m. time frame and how investigators knew that she was still active would eventually be answered. It was due to her Fitbit. Investigators are certain that she was moving and had a pulse until 7 a.m., but she was found only 30 minutes later, deceased, around 7:30. A comment from her sister seemed to imply the family thought Ben might be responsible, and we know the statistics about murders of this nature. However, I had never heard of him having any other charges that may show that he was violent towards women until now. WHYY.org reports Benjamin Ledyard, now 55 years old, got married again in September of 2021 to a woman named Stephanie Nixon. Ledyard is now facing charges of second-degree assault, terroristic threats, and menacing in an attack on his new wife, now named Stephanie Ledyard. That attack occurred on New Year's Day. The argument that led to the violence was reportedly about music being played too loudly. Officers that arrived on the scene that day found Stephanie bloodied, her eyes battered, and she had a severe laceration. She claims that he attempted to attack her with a pool cue initially, and then eventually did attack her with a marble figurine. As if all that wasn't bad enough, it actually gets worse. Stephanie filed additional charges for another attack earlier that year. This one happened back in the summer, where he's accused of biting off the tip of her pinky finger. She states that he then told her, quote, "I think I swallowed it." That charge is first-degree assault with intent to disfigure. His preliminary hearing is scheduled for January 25th, and while we have to remember everyone is innocent until proven guilty, a scenario where Susan Morrissey might have met a similar domestic violence situation with Benjamin Ledyard is looking like it's much more of a possibility. The big question being, can investigators prove it? Ledyard is currently being held on a $77,000 bond at the Howard Young Correctional Institution in Wilmington, Delaware. WDEL.com got a statement from Susan's sister, Meg Heineke, which said, "The family does not wish to comment on the recent arrest of Mr. Ledyard. The family would, however, like to remind the public that Susan's case is unsolved and an active, open homicide investigation. Our family has and will continue to do everything in our power to resolve her case. There is a $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. Susan is loved and dearly missed by her family and friends." Susan's family has also found a way to honor her. They have established the Susan Morrissey Foundation to recognize high school students who have made achievements in English. One Academy Park High School graduate that received this scholarship this year is Nicholas Manis, a former student of Susan's. His cap at graduation featured her picture, room number, and a set of angel's wings. If you have information on the murder of Susan Morrissey Ledyard, we have several different contact methods in the description box below. You may be eligible for that $50,000 reward, and more importantly, you might be the piece needed to bring justice to Susan and her family. If you or someone you love is facing domestic violence, you can find a link to a website down below that I've put together with a video and multiple resources to help you find help. Please help me keep awareness raised to Susan's case by sharing this story, and join us again on Friday as we dive into a new unsolved case on Brainscratch.